Hey everybody, I just have a bit of a hobby table update. I've actually been working a lot on my get it painted stuff, but while I was waiting for stuff to dry and just after doing a bit of a painting session, I had got together some other stuff for Muskets and Tomahawks. And so today, for what's on the table, I'm just going to talk a little bit about Muskets and Tomahawks, D&D, 40K, and as well as some books that I just recently purchased and read. And so for Muskets and Tomahawks, after I do the Get It Painted challenge and the natives that I'm working on, I actually have some British artillery crew and a British 6-pounder. That and this is the first cannon I've ever done for the French Indian War, American War of Independence period. And so, interestingly, I talked a little bit about this when I actually received these and did an unboxing, but this is a British 6-pounder, so it shoots a 6-pound cannonball. The French 4-pounder that I have is probably this big and quite a bit wider, and it shoots actually a 4-pound cannonball, which I was quite surprised. This must be sort of like the Honda of cannons at the time. I'm not sure, because it shoots a heavier ball, but it's actually more streamlined in its design, and it appears, as far as just a smaller cannon itself. In Muskets and Tomahawks, 6-pound is actually the first size cannon that you could consider heavy artillery. I think given the small appearance of this cannon and the fact that it is indeed a 6-pounder, I could probably use it for either. Just spend the points and label it as heavy cannon, or just use it as a light cannon. I am planning on getting more cannon for the game, and in particular I do want to get some smaller cannon than even this size. I would say that's probably a bigger priority, and I'd like to get a limber for sure, and then some more crew. So this is kind of nice. I had to fit the weapon, the equipment on, but we've got this guy here. This guy. This guy's holding a cannonball. And then this guy here. So yeah, looking forward to doing these guys up. I'll be painting these guys right after I do the native project that I'm doing right now. I'm excited. I kind of read the rules over again, because I've not used the artillery rules in practice, and I've read those over again today. That'll be really interesting to see how that works in the game. There are a couple of different dynamics to it I could see entering into the game, as far as keeping crewmen alive, using them at long range, short range against buildings. I think, and whether you go heavy or light, and using a limber, there's a number of components that I think will make the game even more interesting as you continue to add these kinds of complexities to it. So, alright, well, next up I'm going to pan and from this and show the D&D item that I'm going to be doing. So here I actually have the Howling Hag from the Castle Ravenloft set, and it's been a long time coming since I've actually gotten another D&D model on here to paint, and I thought I'd paint this guy up, or this gal up, over the next bit when I'm working on various projects, and throw this into my Castle Ravenloft, Painting Castle Ravenloft playlist. For those of you that watch the channel that have still stuck in and remained subscribers, that are D&D fans and enjoyed those series that I painted, well, my hat's off to you, because I know it's been a really long time since I've done anything for it. I do sort of touch in here and there and talk about it, but I haven't really done any projects for D&D in a while, so thanks for staying, for those of you that have. And yeah, I'll be doing this one up pretty soon. Looking forward to painting this one. There was some interesting cloth on this one here, and so I think it'll be kind of nice to paint this up. Okay, and next up I will be showing the next piece I'm doing for 40K. So I actually ended up priming the land speeder that I'd actually shown how I assembled in a prior video this summer. So this one I'm going to be painting up so I can use this in 40K games. So looking forward to that. I have the weapons and stuff still to prime on the side, but this is something I'll be doing relatively soon alongside these other smaller projects. And next I'm just going to talk a little bit about some books that I've just recently read and then also just purchased. I had just purchased this one. It's Karn, Eater of Worlds. It's a Warhammer book. It's based on Karn from the World Eaters, and it's actually it was just a small hardcover book that I got over vacation. I think it's a little over 200 pages, but it was actually a pretty good read. Not bad, and so I enjoyed that. I have read some of the World Eater books in the Horus Heresy series where Karn was featured in them, and so it was kind of neat just to see something set in the current Warhammer 40,000 universe. Current, I should say, in the most recent era in the game, and so that was kind of cool. And after that video, Where Did I Love Warhammer 40K, and I'd said I'd never read the Pandorax book. Well, you recognize this picture. It's actually zeroed down to the same spot in the picture that I showed. This is the Pandorax, the book that the picture was made for, and so I'm actually just starting to read this, so I'm looking forward to that. And this one was a real treat. It says, that's interesting, centenary edition, so it's not like a centennial, is it? I've never even seen an edition described that way before. But this is the Complete Chronicles of Conan, the Robert E. Howard stories. A nice hardback book, and I actually, I guess it's, let's see, 923 pages. I've never even seen a picture of Robert E. Howard before, and they show one here, which is kind of cool. For those of you that don't know, Robert E. Howard is, from well, here it says, well, he died in 1936, but I knew that he was around in the early 30s, late 20s, or something like that. I knew he was around during that time. One of the things that I always have liked Conan, whether it be comic books as a kid or the movies and things. And I have read some of Robert E. Howard. I had a little 5-story collection. I think Red Nails was one of them, and I had read it and liked it, but never really got into reading all of the stuff. And so recently, another sort of tidbit is that H.P. Lovecraft, who's a writer that I quite enjoy as well, lived during the same time and was a contemporary and corresponded a lot with Robert E. Howard. Now, I don't find their writing to be anything alike, despite the fact that they're both fiction. But the fact that they were both sort of masters of fiction of their time, and this is early fiction, in contemporary writing. And so it's kind of fascinated me, and the Conan world has always fascinated me as far as a fantasy setting. And so I'm looking forward to digging into this. I'm probably not going to read this straight through. I have a very similar book by H.P. Lovecraft, where it's about the same size. I find H.P. Lovecraft's writing to be difficult to get through, in the sense that I don't read it quickly. It's not a quick read. I kind of think a lot about what I'm reading, and it takes me a while to get through it. And so I'm usually only good for 1 or 2 stories, and then I put it down for 6 months, and then I come back. And I don't know if that'll be the same with this one, but one of the things that got me into the mindset of picking this up recently is I watched the recent Conan movie. I'm interested in what people's thoughts are on that. I guess I liked the world and some of the special effects from the movie, because I do like Conan, but I grew up with Arnold Schwarzenegger as Conan, and I found, like, I love Conan the Barbarian, the first movie. Like, I just absolutely love that movie. The one that was done in 1982. And it was going to be difficult for them to impress me, you know, with this one, just given how much I like that one. And I don't know, like, the guy that plays, I don't know the actor's name, but the guy that plays Conan is well known, and I know he's in, like, Game of Thrones, which honestly, I don't have HBO, and I've never bought any of the DVD sets, so I've never watched Game of Thrones. I hear it's just amazing, like, it's hugely popular. And so he, I think, had quite a bit of a following going into Conan for this and taking on this role. And I've heard many people complimenting him on the way he did it. But for me, young Arnold Schwarzenegger is always Conan to me. Now, having read the old books, or having read Robert E. Howard originally, I've heard some people say that, you know, Conan was quite smart and much more talkative than the way Schwarzenegger played him. I don't quite remember that. I have to reread it again, because when I read it, I didn't see any conflict in the way Conan was portrayed. Like, I didn't see him as this extremely talkative individual, but I have to read again. I have to pick this one up and read it and to make my judgment on that. But something about the early 80s Conan movie, the imagery that they used, a lot of the backdrops and just the props and just the characters, I just found to be really raw. Like, for the time, I just really thought they were awesome. And some of my favorite scenes is when Conan's actually a child. It's before Schwarzenegger's even in it, at the very beginning of the movie, when they're in the forest, and the scout of James Earl Jones' character, for whatever reason, I'm drawing a mind blank, but Thulsa Doom is the name of the evil character that James Earl Jones plays. They show this scout that sort of comes through the woods, and then Conan as a child just encounters him in the woods before the army arrives, or he just sees him, and then, like, the army arrives, and then, like, you have the dramatic music, and it's just awesome. Like, I just really found it fairly epic, and it's always refreshing to watch that movie in some ways. I thought it's always very good. But, so I'm enjoying that. It's kind of a recent purchase, and beyond that, that's it. You know, I think I'm actually done hobbying for the day, and I'm going to be spending more time with the family today, so hope everybody's having a good weekend, and take care.